Guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to another episode of The New Nation with me, Mike, your host. Just want to say thank you. I hope you're having a great day. Mine's going swell. Listen, are you feeling safe and secure? Why don't we hear a word from my partners at Aura? Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, even your relatives. It's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's podcast. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, or other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats I can't see. It's really easy to set up, so I don't have to download several different apps to get things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. I get everything at one affordable price. You may already have one or two of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping me safe so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours, my valued listener. You can go to aura.com/new to start your 2-week free trial, also linked below in the description. Remember, guys, it's a 2-week free trial, so allow Aura to be the security that gives you the peace of mind and the comfort that someone out there is looking out for you. aura.com/new. Guys, remember to go to aura.com/new. They are friends of the show. It's 14 days for absolutely free. It helps out the show a lot, guys. Okay, I got to feed dogs. I got 2 kids now to feed. 14 days for free. Sign up. It helps me out. Be a good guy. I got to buy a second car for the family. We need another vehicle. So there's the grift for the day. Okay, I wanted to talk about a couple of things that were on my mind. Obviously, also, please go back and listen to episode 7 with Anthony D'Ambrosio, who's the writer-director of the Maximilian Kolbe film, the Saint Maximilian Kolbe film, Triumph of the Heart. We had a really nice discussion. And it was actually a good experiment because this was something that we did over virtual. So we did it over a StreamYard. StreamYard's just basically like a Zoom call. But when the other person has a nice mic set up, I can use AI to clean up the audio to make it sound like he's in the room with me. So go back and listen to that episode. It's up on YouTube. It's up on Spotify and Apple. Do me a favor, though, on YouTube. We want to get the podcast back into the algorithm, so any like, comment, subscription really helps kind of get that back into the algo, a little bit of an algo boost there. I hope everybody is doing well. I am doing well. I've been listening to a lot of Beach House recently. Have you guys been listening to Beach House? Does anybody know who Beach House is? I've actually brought them up on an episode of IDG once because we were doing a Q&A and someone would say, what have you been listening to lately? And even back then, I think that was about like 6 or 7 months ago, I said, I've been listening to a lot of Beach House lately. And that's what I've been doing, you know? I've just been listening to the song Myth. It's awesome. I can't get enough of it. A little snippet before YouTube takes us off. I'm sure you've heard that on Instagram Reels or something like that. They've been gaining popularity. It's actually how I've been finding a lot of music is via Instagram Reels. Never thought that would be a thing, and yet here we are. Some really cool orchestral music that I found. Actually, some really cool Gregorian chant I found through Instagram Reels, especially on a lot of the Catholic pages I've been following. Also, speaking about Catholicism, that we should, I think this show has something to do with. I went to Mass with my daughter yesterday. Having the little one is tough, especially when my wife hasn't gotten the best night of sleep. I know you guys will probably frown on this and say, you know, she's got to do her Christian obligation of going to Mass on Sunday. I understand that, though we pray for her, and you know we understand that. You know, when moms don't get good sleep, the last thing that I want is my wife in church not feeling her best, especially with the groggy baby. But when they do come, it's amazing. And Ro actually did really well, my daughter. Her and I went alone, and it was nice. It was a good service. It was kind of a bummer because we usually sit about 5 rows back from the front, and for whatever reason, we usually get there at the same time, 10 minutes before the service starts. But it was busier. It was more packed, so to say. So we didn't get hit with the good incense. We got a little bit of it, but we didn't get good with it. My daughter's so good though. She knows when to cross herself. She knows. It's funny. The Kyrie eleison, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy. She will sing it, and the way that ours is sung, it's sung like Kyrie eleison, and that the same thing with Christe, but you go Christe. Anyway, but she will do that, and it's cute because you hear this little voice totally off key, just like her dad. And it's one of those things that puts a smile on your face and just kind of shows you the presence of God inside of a church when you hear the little voices singing. And more kids in church, please. The priest kind of had to stop his homily a couple of times because there was one specific child who just kept on having these outbursts while he was getting brought to the back. And he wasn't frustrated by any means. It was just kind of funny how he had to stop mid-sentence about 3 or 4 times. But yeah, I like more kids in the church, and especially with Latin Mass and this particular parish, the Latin Novus Ordo parish. The average kids per family is 4, and that's high. There are plenty of families there that are 5, 6 kids. There's one family that has 10. And I guess we're slacking, like the normal Catholic family. I would assume that the average kid is 4 or 5, but or the average amount of kids per family is 4 or 5. So I guess we're slacking. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about was fatherhood. I know that one of the subjects you guys enjoy hearing me talk about is being this father. I wish I could say young father. I'm not a young father. I never was a young father, became a father at 36. So just like my dad, funny enough. But as sort of a precursor to, the story and what I want to talk about. If you're listening to this and you're in your 20s, especially early 20s, and you're engaged or you're already married, please have kids. Please try. Have them young. As someone who is about to turn 40 this year, please have them young. But I just wanted to talk about this one thing. And the idea was God exists because kids. That's the overall theme of today's episode. And, having watched a lot of these debates with Cliff and other Christian apologists when they talk to people like moral relativists and atheists, they'll say, well, why? What's the evidence for God? And a lot of people say, well, the order and design of the universe is evidence for God because it has to come from a creator. And they'll say, well, life cannot come from non-life. Life has to come from life. And then I was thinking about it earlier today. I was thinking about love. Love is this weird thing, right? You ask an atheist, and if he's honest, you say, well, what is love? And the atheist would only have to say it's a chemical reaction. It's neurons firing in the brain, or it's chemicals in the brain that make you feel a certain way about people. But I think love it's innate, right? God created us with the capacity to love, and he loves us. And what's so interesting about that love is that the free will behind God and his relationship with man is that he's not a puppet master, right? If he was, then he wouldn't be all powerful. But the way that he separates his power is that he gives us this ability of love. He gives us this free will. Do we love him? Can we love him? And I was thinking about that, what it has to do with my kids. So I've gotten into some online back and forth with people, especially when they ask for evidence of God. And I said, okay, yeah, kids. They were saying, what do you mean kids? Just kids? And I said, no, my kids. Because why do I have to love them? If there is no God, I don't have to love my kids, right? I could have kids. I could move on to the next woman, impregnate her, have them more because I'm being driven by the urge and the need to spread the biological seed, right? If it's all just evolution and if it's all just matter and energy and if it's all just chemicals reactions, then that's what would be driving the need to procreate. But we do love our children. I think, the overwhelming majority of us love our children. And there's something to say about that, especially when I was at a ballet class with my daughter, and it's one of those ballet classes where it's not really ballet. It's kind of just moving around, but they call it ballet because they wear ballet shoes and tutus and all that stuff. But they're 3 years old. They're 3, 4, 5 years old. It's not a proper ballet school, but I take her to the same place that we do the little gymnastics and the kind of playtime stuff. And they're different classes. So the playtime stuff, you're interacting with your child, you're there with her. And then the ballet stuff, you're off in the back and you're watching the class. So there's no parent interaction. There's only teacher and kid interaction. And I got to tell you, I am watching this class with the biggest smile on my face. I've never smiled through anything more than I have this class. And it's this feeling. I mean, I don't know. I see other kids there. It's like, yeah, that's cute or whatever. But then when you see your child, I saw my daughter, and it's just this overwhelming feeling, right, of this love. It's clearly a chemical reaction, right? Like I'm seeing something, my eyes are interpreting something. It's sending a signal to my brain. It's releasing whatever chemical, dopamine or whatever the hit is, makes me feeling certain, some certain type of thing. But that could be done with anything that's cute, right? A dog, I could get that same dopamine hit. But when I see my daughter looking back at me and smiling and waving, it's something else. Saying, whoa, I created that person, and I'm not calling myself God, but I created that person, and this person has a free will, and she is choosing to smile back at me. She's choosing to say, love you, Daddy. She's choosing to wave. And it's just like, of course, this little person is made in the image of not only myself, obviously, like because she looks like me, I made her, but she's made in the image of God. And we should be like my little girl as far as our relationship with God and our appreciation for him. My daughter lights up when she sees me. Oh, Daddy's here. Daddy sees me. Makes me happy. God sees me. Makes me happy. I should love God like a little child, right? I mean, I guess that's why Jesus was so fond of children, because they were so innocent and they probably loved God, more than adults were loving God at the time, clearly. It's just a weird thing. So I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, but I was just thinking about that. I was like, yeah, I think God exists because kids. I don't have to love this kid. But for whatever reason, there's this innate, not need to love my child, but I almost understand the order of it. You have child, you bring child into world, you must love this child. And not all people, listen to that or heed that, but that's also the free will. There's no force of that, which I think makes love all the more special. If we were forced to love each other, love wouldn't mean anything. But the fact that there are strangers who give their lives up for other strangers, there are fathers who raise kids by themselves, there are mothers who raise their kids by themselves, there are grandparents that raise their grandkids if something happens to their parents, there are strangers who raise kids as if they're their own. What does that say about love? It can't just be this chemical reaction. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be deeper than that. But also, my daughter at ballet class is really cute. And I give her the thumbs up, and she's just learned how to thumbs up back. And speaking of her, she is a hard-headed kid. She's a spirited child. And we've gotten a bunch of books on how to raise spirited children, and she's a sensitive one. And if any of the parents out there have any sensitive kids, let me know. Let me know how you deal with the tantrums or how you deal with outbursts, because I've gotten better recently, but she's so hard-headed and almost so much like me that it's not that I get carried away, but I get frustrated so easily. These kids will frustrate you like nothing you've ever seen before and nothing you've ever dealt with. And it's not that it's a test, but it almost is a test of your will and your love for them, because if I reprimand my child, almost immediately after, I'll walk away just so that she doesn't see me, but I'll walk away and feel awful. And she's a 3-year-old, so she's not doing anything that is worthy of actually being taken seriously. She didn't crash the car. She didn't hurt somebody on purpose. You know what I mean? She'll just knock stuff over, or she'll wake the baby up or something like that. And, there's nothing worse than that feeling of, having an outburst or trying to strictly reinforce behaviors in your child and then feeling really bad about the way that you went about it. So, God exists because of love that we have for our children, that we have for each other, and love in general. I just found that interesting, and I was thinking about that earlier today, and just seeing the way that my wife interacts with our newborn son is something that I'm getting to experience that over again. Because when you have the firstborn, and it's just the three of you, that every waking moment is just occupied by the little one, right? So you don't really get a chance to appreciate too much. You can with a little bit of quiet time, but then when you see your 3-year-old who is, caressing the head of the newborn and trying to calm him down, and then watching how your wife deals with that, that's something that's also very special. And I'm just gushing over my kids right now because I'm very happy and I'm very proud. Speaking of, I guess, being happy and very proud, I start my new job in, 11 days, something like that? Yeah. So that's going to be fun. And that, I think, is probably why I get frustrated with the little one so easily, is because I'm around all the time. And I think that once I start to go away to work, I'm going to be away for, 8-9 hours out of the day. I'm going to come back and, having that break from them, I probably won't, not that I'm not going to take it seriously, but I'm going to take the time a little bit more seriously and say, listen, before I was home all day, I was around all the outbursts, I was around all the tantrums, I was around all the hard-headedness. And now, because I'm away from that, let me come back with a little bit more of a sort of gentle demeanor. I miss them. I haven't seen them all day. And I'll only get about 2 hours with them anyway, because, I'll have to put them to sleep 2 hours after I get back home. So it's going to be different. It's going to be challenging. Again, we're going to have to get another car, so that's interesting. If you've made it this far, go sign up on Aura. It's 2 weeks for free. If you don't like it, you don't have to continue it, which is nice, but it still helps out the channel, and it helps me out financially. We got to raise some money to get this second car. Looking for a 2-door Tahoe. Yeah, we're going to buy a used car. I'm trying to, we're going to have a garage sale next week, try to raise some funds up through there, because I want to, banks are so annoying. Like, it sucks because when you've taken a break from working for so long, while you're looking for another job and freelancing is slow, like, banks are supremely annoying. Like, I went to go get a used car, but it was at one of those used car lots, so they do the financing through a bank. And I do the whole credit check, and they're saying, well, your debt-to-income ratio is too low. And I said, well, I pay rent. I pay all bills on time. I have, 3 credit cards, and all of them get paid on time, and only one of them has, like, a balance of over $5,000. Like, I don't understand how, I can't get a loan, especially if it's, like, a smaller loan. It's for a used car, not for a new car. Because he has the debt-to-income ratio. It's not good enough. Like, you're paying this much per year in expenses, but you're only making this much. And I'm like, well, look at the history. The history doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you pay your credit cards on time. It's just like, that doesn't make any sense. If I had a history of delinquency, then yeah, maybe it would make sense you don't lend me money. Usury. I hate it. And that's not necessarily usury, but still, when they hit you with these high interest rates, it is usury. So I'm going to try and buy a used car for cash. Nothing crazy, maybe something like $4,000 or $5,000. I do have a couple different types of cars in mind. I would like a Chevy Tahoe or a 3rd generation or 4th generation 4Runner. So people who know me personally know that I've been trying to get a 4Runner for a while. But yeah, and only because when we're down to one car, I'm going to be working about half an hour away from where we live. And you're down to one car, my daughter is going to be missing like the gymnastics class, but not the ballet class. So I'll have my wife drive me to work on the ballet class day because they're getting ready to do a recital. So I said, listen, we have to maybe not suffer, but we have to kind of, bite the bullet for maybe a month or two so that we can save up and get this car. And yeah, that's the reality of that. Aura, the grift that keeps on giving. But can we talk about tipping culture and tips? Okay. I'd like to consider myself a really good tipper, 20% minimums. But I think now in the US, tipping culture has kind of gone out of hand. And, we all seen the meme. The person at the coffee shop just turns on the iPad and expects some 20% tip for simply turning around the iPad. That person might not even be making the coffee, but all the tips are pooled, whatever. When you go to Europe, and I've been all around the world, Asia, Europe, South America, Central America. I've never been to Antarctica. I haven't been there. Australia. So all of the continents, Africa, with the exception of Antarctica. Never been to Hawaii or Alaska. So lower 48, yeah. But outside of the United States, tipping is virtually non-existent. And every time I'd gone overseas, I would leave a tip, because that's what I'm accustomed to. I'm accustomed to leaving a tip, especially if it's for good service. And people are like, oh, that's not how we do things here. Or no, we don't do tipping here. So it's a very interesting thing how it is viewed outside of the United States. But just take a listen to this video. This is a video in which I guess, what do they call those people? When you get your groceries delivered to you, Instacart or whatever, I guess these people, sounds like Zoomers, had gotten some groceries delivered and they didn't leave a tip. Just listen to how this guy goes off on these people for not getting a tip, okay?
And then coming over here driving on my dime to get your groceries and you don't give me a tip, that is not only unethical, but it's not only is it disturbing and unethical, but it's very wrong of you to think that way. You've got a mental screw up in your brain that doesn't work. And I'm not going to waste my time and breath with you. I'm going to cancel your order right now.
Okay.
Boom, canceled, and you're going to go pick up your own order. Right?
No, I'll just get a different shopper.
I mean,
okay?
so
You do whatever you have to do.
You're wasting your time.
He's literally wasted his time. Do you realize how dumb you sound?
Okay, both parties are at fault here. Just because with these people, you don't get into an argument with them. Fine, you're going to cancel my order. Fine, you're going to take my groceries back. Cool, I'll get somebody else to do it. That's it. You leave it at that. If the delivery driver continues to have a tirade, you just record him. That's it. Wait till he's done. Move on. What he doesn't do, I didn't want to play this because it's 2.5 minutes long, but what the guy does do is he says, I want to slap some sense into you, Swiftie. He calls her like a Swiftie. Just assume that she's a Taylor Swift fan, even though she's white and 25 and she sounds like she would be. So, I mean, pretty accurate there, but he raises his hand to her and says, I'm going to slap some sense into you. And the dude standing behind her is like, wait, we're video recording everything. We're recording it, okay? Doesn't even get between himself and his girlfriend or his roommate. Sounds super feminine. I don't think they're dating. But the dude would have caught these hands very quickly the minute he would have lifted his hands up to my wife, let's say, if that was the situation. And then I would have caught a case. But I would have been justified because that was self-defense. Anytime you make any sort of motion within a certain distance from somebody else and attempting to inflict bodily harm or injury, or grievous bodily harm or injury onto someone, self-defense is justified. I don't think I would have shot him. I think shooting him would have been a little bit too extreme, and you can never know if someone else is carrying. So just leave the situation alone. But getting back to the tipping, when I do an Instacart, my wife mostly does the Instacart. She leaves a tip just because she knows that the majority of these people's pay relies on the tips. And I think I would give a tip because you're using your own gas money to drive to each order. The same thing with Uber Eats and all that stuff. I'm never tipping above $5 for an Uber Eats order. I'm just not doing that because I figure that the volume is probably high enough that these people are super busy throughout the day. So, I mean, I know people, and I've had friends say that they always tip above $10 because they know it's a tough job. Like, sorry, it's not a tough job. You're picking up food that has been prepared for you, and you're just driving it to a location with GPS. If there's no GPS and they had to use like a Hagstrom's map that your dad had in the car back in the 90s and early 2000s, or even had to MapQuest stuff, maybe I'd tip a little bit more. But no, the tipping is absolutely ridiculous. And all these viral videos that are going around of people not leaving tips, and then the servers or the Uber drivers or the Instacart fulfillers, whatever you want to call them, go nuts or throw the food or cancel the order. Fine, let them do it. They picked this job. There is no metaphorical gun against these people's heads in order to pick these jobs. So if you are in the quote-unquote service industry, you have to be very aware that people aren't going to tip. And I was just thinking about this the other day. if my wife became one of these drivers, which I would obviously not want her or have her do it all, but even if I was going to do that job, I would say to myself, okay, Mike, some people, probably the majority of people, aren't going to tip you or are going to leave bad tips. Not everybody's like you. Not everybody leaves 20%. But I even understand that. But on a food order, think about this. On let's say like a McDonald's, Uber Eats or something like that, or Taco Bell or Chipotle that you're just ordering food for yourself. If it comes out to $11 or $12, a 20% tip on a $12 order is $2.40. That's kind of crazy. And to the person who's delivering, it seems low. Like, oh, you're only going to tip me $2? Excuse me, my guy. That's 20%. I'm not giving you a 50% tip for a $12 order for my lunch. Go get another job. Listen, I have very, 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 very little skills when it comes to being in a professional setting. And I guess on the spectrum of skills that I have, do I make good art? Sure. Can I run a business? A little bit, not really well. Freelancing is a small business to a certain extent, but I've never had any employees or anything like that. Sales, I do have sales experience, sure. So the only lanes that I could really go into was either sales or some sort of like retail job or the photography world. And there just aren't that many staff photography jobs that pay good enough in order to sustain, a family with 2 growing kids in it, and 2 dogs, by the way. So you just have to recognize your skills. Get out there. If you don't want to be an Uber Eats driver, you don't have to be, but recognize what skills you have and try to either grow them or apply them to a job. There are a lot of places that are hiring right now. I just got hired at a firm. Not going to tell you what it is. It's in sales. It has a decent base and it has good bonuses and good healthcare, by the way, and benefits as well, like 401k. There are like monthly incentives that if you stay fit, you get like an extra $400 a month, which is kind of cool, and other sort of contests that they run throughout your time there. So I'm happy about that. I'm starting it not next Monday, but the Monday after. So in about 10 days or so. I'm super excited about that. And go to aura.com/new. Sign up for a 2-week free trial on Aura just so that I can get those commissions, guys. Because honestly, I'm going to do a giveaway on Instagram over the weekend, and I'll start it over the weekend, or maybe I'll start it on Monday. But the way that the giveaway is going to go, I've got some really cool things to give away. I'm looking at it right now, but I don't want to tell you. I'll wait for the Instagram. But like I said, if I can get anywhere between 12 and 16 signups over the next month, that will really help. So by March, I'll have enough money to, buy a second car. And this isn't the grift, because I'm not changing an opinion based on giving me money or anything. And I'm not necessarily begging, because it costs you nothing to sign up for Aura. It's a 14-day free trial at aura.com/new. Yes. Don't tip people if they don't deserve it. Simple as that. I want to talk about one more tweet that I saw before we get into the questions here. I saw this tweet by a guy named Dark Prof U, and it says, "Homosexuality is natural. The sex life of 2 consenting adults is none of anyone's business, regardless of your deeply held beliefs." Here's mine. Here's my my response to that was the following. Homosexuality, quote unquote, existing in nature does not make it, quote, natural. That's like me saying pedophilia is natural, just, because pedophiles exist. The sex life of 2 consenting adults is 100% my business, because I inhabit a society in which I want no backwards, unnatural, and depraved acts committed within it. Now, that's just like a purely right-wing way to view it. But let's talk about that. When people use that argument, well, being gay is just natural, man. Like, it's just a natural thing that humans do. Like, again, what does natural mean? Think about it. Just things existing in nature don't make them natural. Like my headphones on this desk, they exist. They're not natural. Okay, that doesn't come from nature. Cotton, on the other hand, is something that is natural. It comes from a cotton plant. Whether we make shirts or pants or flags out of that cotton, that's a separate issue. But the fact is that cotton is a natural substance. It's of the earth. And there are a couple different definitions of natural. So let's just read a couple of these definitions. This is an existing in nature. Something that is natural comes from nature and is not man-made. For example, cotton is a natural fiber. Yes. So there's two different things, existing in nature and then just existing. Like cotton exists in nature because it is of nature, right? Like homosexuals we weren't made that way. We weren't innately made to sodomize each other and, do other things that sodomy may encompass. No, we broke away from that once Eve ate the apple, gave it to Adam. We became a fallen world. That's where homosexuality came from. It was earned, I guess you can say, not artificial. Something that is natural is not artificial or involves anything made or caused by people. For example, a natural bridge. Yes, the Brooklyn Bridge is not natural. A mound or a small hill that has water going underneath it due to erosion over a long period of time would be considered a natural bridge. Based on nature, something that is natural is based on the state of things in nature. For example, growth is a natural process. Yes. And then familiar and instinctive. It feels natural to take off your shoes when you enter a home in many parts of Asia. Okay, that's a different meaning, but that's not necessarily what nature means. Feeling like you should do something isn't necessarily natural, unless it's like, hey, I feel like I have to poop or I feel like I have to pee. That's what my daughter would say, and she would say, lock me in my room, because she's going to poop in her pants. But that is a natural action. Sodomy is not a natural action. I don't care how much you want to cope over it, but it just isn't. And this whole thing about what consenting adults do in the privacy of their own homes, that's like none of your business, man. Yeah, it is, because we live in a society, and I don't want degrading, demonic acts being done in the society I live in. I really do think that we should bring back those laws, anti-sodomy laws, anti-blaspheme laws. I think those should come back, and they need a strong comeback, because if we're going to be a society with morals, we have to act morally. We can't just say they're fine because they're within the confines of their own home. Like, what kind of people do you think would contribute positively into a society in public while they're rear-ending each other in their own homes? Right? Mike, you're judging people. You're making a judgment. Absolutely. I absolutely am. Let's get into some Q&As. We don't have too many. We have a couple. Ricardo, I'll just say your name. Ricardo, I won't say your full name. Tips for soon-to-be fathers. Well, I did, talk a little bit about that in the beginning of the episode. What tips do I have for all the new fathers out there? Here's what I would do. The first thing I would do is to step back, have a quiet moment with yourself, and realize that you have to take yourself out of any situation regarding your kids and your family from now on. There's no time for selfishness. And even, when you're single or without kids, you shouldn't be a selfish person either. You should be a selfless person. But with kids especially, you're going to have to put off doing things you want to do for a while. I understand that. Maybe for the guys, it's a little bit easier. They can get away from the house, especially if they're working, But for those first 6 months, I recommend you be there with your wife to help. When you get off from work, do whatever you can to make her life that much more comfortable. And for all the fathers out there, encourage your wife to breastfeed. I mean, I know this is probably not going to go over as well, but breastfeeding is honestly, I think, the best way that women can get more rest during the postpartum months, for the first 6 months at least. Because if you're bottle feeding, and this is what we did with my first daughter, just because she didn't end up breastfeeding because she had problems with the latching and all that stuff like that, but you basically have to go off in shifts. One person wakes up, gives the bottle. The other person, is sleeping for 2-3 hours, and the other person wakes up 2-3 minutes to give the bottle. But when you're breastfeeding, the wife is kind of able to. So my wife and I right now, we sleep in separate rooms. So I sleep with my toddler in her bedroom, and my wife sleeps with my son in our bedroom. And what she's able to do is they're able to lay there together in this big queen size bed. And when he wakes up, when he's starting to get a little hungry, all she has to do, get that in there, and he'll eventually fall asleep on the teat. Now you make sure he doesn't fall asleep eating, but you guys can pretty much go back to sleeping pretty normally. But when it's a bottle-fed baby, that's when it kind of gets annoying. But okay, tips for dads. Be self-aware of how unselfish you're going to have to be. Another tip is really, really be the man in your relationship. This woman just carried your child for 9 months through pain, agony, hormone spikes and lows, all that sort of stuff, the pain of childbirth, even if it's not a natural childbirth, even if it's a C-section, she was cut open to bring your child into the world. Honestly, treat her like the queen that she is, not simping, not in a simpish way, but in an appreciative way, in a God-glorifying way. You know, this is your wife. She has birthed your child. She has extended your name. She has brought another life into the world that you now lord over. So give glory to God and treat your wife in the same way that you would treat our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Those are the only tips. And be there for your kids. Understand that kid is going to drive you crazy for your whole life, but especially in those early formative years. You can't take it out on them. I've gotten slightly better at that, but it's a process. And a lot of guys, boom, right off the bat, great parents, slow to anger, understanding, soft-spoken. And then for us guys, for the type of guys like me, it takes a little bit longer to get there. But the main tip is just become the most selfless man you can absolutely be. Traditional. Okay. Do you think women should have the right to go to college? Well, there's no right that exists that there's no right to college that exists in the United States or in the world. You know, what do we have a right to? We have a right to life given to us by God, and we're all created with innate value, and we should treat each other in the same way. That's really the only right that we have. I mean, Freemasons would say, what would they say? Life, liberty, and not property. Or is it property? What would Freemasons say? Anyway, Americans would say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are what we have rights to. But we don't necessarily have a right to college. Now, if you're talking about, do I think women should have the opportunity to go to college? Sure, I guess. Would I even discourage women from going to college? I think I would discourage most people from going to college, depending on what one wants to be. I don't want to tell women that I think they should go to college in order to just enter into the workforce and just be another cog in the machine, especially in the corporate world. I think women make good carers as far as, nurses and early education teachers, I think like that. I think they're more suited for that. But I think, now I don't know if this is a really, excuse me, I sneezed. I don't know if this is a very simple way of looking to it, but I think if colleges taught more women how to be homemade, well, they wouldn't though. They wouldn't now, just because they're so, I don't know, in deep with feminist ideology that they would never do it. And even high schools, I don't know if they necessarily do that anymore. Home economics, how to run a home, because that's effectively what the wife does. The wife runs the home, the husband. The wife runs the house, the husband runs the home, I guess, if I could say it like how I wanted to come out. That makes more sense, I think. But do I think women should go to college? Ought women go to college? No, I don't think so. If women want to be doctors or lawyers, I would say maybe women are more suited to be doctors than lawyers. I don't think that corporate lawyer life is set up well for women. I mean, I just don't think that any current day job is set up for women, because it doesn't appreciate what a woman was made for. And I'm not saying that, women can't do great things. They can do great things, but I don't know if they're necessarily made to do those things, if their natural disposition suits them for college, or for the world rather. I don't know. My wife was in the corporate world, the corporate nonprofit world, for 8 years, and they effed her over, and she's much happier in the home. Now, that puts a lot more pressure on my shoulders, but that's fine, because I'm a man and I have to deal with pressure, and I have to deal with taking care of those around me financially and physically. So I'm going to do it. Saint Wave, I don't know. I don't know if Saint Wave saw my personal story or even saw my Twitter. Which hated movies is actually good? Which beloved movie is actually bad? Okay. Which hated movie is actually good? I Am Sam. I know that we've talked about this maybe before back in the IDG days, but I Am Sam is top 20 movie of all time. A lot of people hate on it because they say Sean Penn went full retard. He did, but no. Well, he went full autist. He didn't go full retard. I think he went full autist, even though I think he had like the intelligence level of a 5th or 6th grader or something like that. But I Am Sam, it goes so much past the autism. It's ultimately a movie about fatherhood and how about a simple man, quote unquote, a simple man, simple Jack, is probably a better father than all of us. And so I think people get really wrapped up in this portrayal of a highly autistic person or a highly spectrum person, and they don't get to the real underlying plot of the movie is how much a father cares about his daughter. So I Am Sam is definitely a hated movie that I love. What's an actual beloved movie that's actually bad? I'd have to really think about this, and I should have looked at the questions before I started the podcast. So just maybe I could make a list. A lot of people like Killers of the Flower Moon. I didn't really care for it. I did the same thing with the other things. So like The Irishman I thought was really bad, and then I watched it again, and I actually ended up liking The Irishman. What other sort of mainstream movies that everybody likes that I think is good? I think Pretty Woman may have destroyed a lot of these OnlyFans girls that they always go on these podcasts and say, yeah, if I'm able to meet a guy that's able to take care of me and, makes $800,000 a year, then I would quit OnlyFans. It's like they all expect, they're all these prostitutes who expect to have this billionaire, meet this billionaire and have him take care of them for the rest of their lives. It's just, not that I hate Pretty Woman. Like I like Pretty Woman. I'm trying to think. What movies have maybe won Best Picture that I was like, don't really care. No, it's another show. I might have to do another show based on Saint Wave's question. Let's leave it with our last question. Who in our faith deserves salvation, and what is the best way to go about it? I guess as far as Catholics go, they deserves salvation. That's a hard question for me to answer because I can't determine anybody's salvation. Who I think, can have the best possibility for salvation is the person who belongs to the church and is faithful to the church, puts his love and trust and worship into Jesus Christ, partakes in the sacraments, and just leads as good a life as he possibly can. He can evangelize. He can keep his faith to himself. But I think if he's a good member of the church and if he's a good member of society, he's a professing Catholic who stands up for other people and who stands up for the marginalized and the victimized and the oppressed, I think that person is, let's say, worthy of salvation. I don't want to say deserving. But what's great about Catholicism is purgatory, the whole concept of purgatory. And it's one of these things that I think about a lot because, my dad is outside the church. He's not a practicing Catholic. He's not even baptized. So I worry about his salvation. And I wouldn't say that he deserves salvation just because he's a great guy, right? Like what does a Catholic believe? That there's no salvation outside the church? Here's the thing, though. The day is going to come where my father passes away. What's great about purgatory is that he goes to purgatory, and my prayers will hopefully do some good to ensure that he goes to heaven. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not going to talk to him about possibly joining the church or even getting baptized before, that one day he passes away, which I don't know when it's going to happen, which I do. I brought it up to him before. I'm trying to plant seeds into his head. He's a 77-year-old man, 78. Wait, how old is he? He's going to be 78 this year. Wow. Doesn't look a day over 65. But I want to plant those seeds because maybe one day he does, and that will be a really happy day. But until then, who deserves salvation? Kind of like when you think about it, none of us necessarily, quote unquote, deserve it. We're all horrible sinners. The only reason why we can attain salvation and we can be saved is because Christ died on a cross for us. He's paid the debt for our sins. But, once saved, always saved. It's false teaching. It's false doctrine. It's nowhere in Scripture. It's nowhere in church teaching. We are saved by God's grace through our faith and our works are fruits of that faith. God bless you all. I will speak to you guys next week. I will talk to you about the giveaway. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.